Hi, my name is Cami, and this is Classics and Cats. Okay, I'm so excited today because I'm going to share my second in my series of books that I read in my youth. This is the second video, and I'll be talking about the books that I read probably from ages, 8 through 12. So these would be kind of my middle grade books that I really enjoyed. So I hope that you will enjoy this as well, and maybe some of these are books that you also enjoyed when you were in middle grade, or if you are in middle grade now. Maybe these are some recommendations for you if you're looking for something to read in middle grade. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a kid to read middle grade. I still enjoy reading middle grade, and there are books on my TBR that are middle grade that I haven't read yet that I would like to. So don't discount middle grade just because of an age thing. There's no age limit on books, okay? So without further ado, let's hear about the books that I read when I was a tween. Okay, for starters, we're going to begin with a series called The Gymnasts. So when I was a kid, I was a gymnast, and I did gymnastics from ages 4 to 18. So gymnastics had a very big place in my life and in my heart. And when I found this series, I fell in love with it because it's all about gymnasts and gymnastics. So it was very special to me. And so it would be all about their meets and their struggles and learning a new skill and, progressing through their gymnastics journey. So cute one for gymnasts. It's a little dated. If you know anything about gymnastics, you know that a lot of the moves change over the years somewhat quickly. Things that, they did in the 70s for the Olympics would be things that girls now are doing in level 8. So, it's changed. It's progressed a lot. So it was funny as a kid to read this because there were some moves that I was like, I don't know what that is. And, I'd ask my coach and she would explain it to me. And it was like, wow, we don't even do that. And, it was because it had changed. Probably when they were doing bars, they were the uneven parallel bars and they didn't expand. They were set at a certain width apart. And so you could do different things that you can't do on the ones that extend now. Probably too much gymnastics history for you. But anyway, so I really loved the series, The Gymnasts. Another series that I really enjoyed as a kid was the Boxcar Children. So I had a ton of these as a kid, and they're all a different mystery, and they're just so fun. And I think when we moved, I was like 18, so my mom sold all of them in a garage sale, thinking, that we weren't going to need them anymore. Fair enough. But so as an adult, it was like, oh, I miss those books that I had. I want to read them to my daughter, and and to have them, because honestly, middle grade, they're still fun to read sometimes, but it's just nice to have. It's nostalgia for me. The Boxcar Children is a story about these orphan children, and they don't want to be separated, so they're heading out, and they go and live in a boxcar, and it's about their survival and how they make it in a boxcar, and then they solve mysteries. They stumble into all these different circumstances that they have to get themselves out of, and then it's about the family that they find or that finds them. So these are sweet books. I love this series, The Boxcar Children. So if you have any kids in your life or adults that love this series, start collecting them. You can probably find them anywhere, but you'll have gift ideas for, life with this series. That's always a good thing. Another series that I really enjoyed, and I don't have any copies because, again, I think these are ones that my mom sold off. Thinking that I wouldn't want them anymore. Fair enough. They were pretty young, but everybody was into the Babysitters Club. I was not. I think I was too young for that when it came out. But they had another series that was like a junior series to that called Babysitter's Little Sister. And I loved those. The main character was Karen. I'll put a picture up here. The main character was Karen. And it's all her adventures through school, losing her teeth or breaking her arm or all the different things that, kids can go through. And I just loved Karen's stories, her shenanigans. And she always had this catchphrase where she would say "boo" and bullfrogs when she was upset about something. So it's so funny because every now and then in my head, I'll like, somebody will say something, I'll be like, boom, bullfrogs, you know, but I don't say it out loud. I say something equally dorky, but yeah. So I loved The Babysitter's Little Sister. Again, this is a series that if you get someone into it, you will have gift ideas forever, for eternity. So yeah, so those are the series that I can remember that I was really into as a youngin'. Okay, something else that I really enjoyed when I was a kid, Calvin and Hobbes. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the comic strip, Calvin and Hobbes, but it is a gem. And my dad absolutely loved Calvin and Hobbes, so he got me into it as well. I would watch him read them and he would just laugh, and I just loved it. It made me so happy. And so I read them as well, and they were just hilarious. You know, Calvin is just this little spitfire, and he has these crazy adventures with his tiger who comes to life, for Calvin only, of course. And they have adventures together, and it's just so sweet. And I think my dad and I both, our favorite thing about Calvin and Hobbes is the ones with him and his babysitter. He was such a little punk, and the funniest things happened when his babysitter Rosalind was over. And you know, she wasn't a sweet peach either, but oh man, their back and forth was so funny. So I just love those. And so this is a lot of childhood memories. I think I have all of the collections of Calvin and Hobbes. I think I also have them in hardcover. And I think I got my dad a copy in hardcover as a gift. So if you have any Calvin and Hobbes fans in your life, pick these up for them. Or there's beautiful collector's edition that's hardcover. I'll link that down below if it's still available. But yes, so this is a lot of childhood memories, a lot of happy times, just good fun. And you know, it's one that you just open it, you read a few, you know, you close it up, and you can come back and forth to it. You know, it's just kind of nice. Oh, I've got a bookmark in here. Books, the other channel. Cute. So yeah, this is one of my Calvin and Hobbes collections. All right, so I also was a big fan of Judy Blume, and if you're familiar, she wrote Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing and Super Fudge, which is back to back, and I think there was another one called Super Fudge or Fudgemania or something like that. But yes, so I loved these books as a kid. It's about, you know, this boy, and he's got a little brother who just makes his life absolutely crazy, and then I think they add a little sister into the mix at some point. And so it's just about his adventures being a big brother and the things that he goes through with that. And they were just hilarious. Judy Blume's amazing. You know, I haven't read all of her books, and some of them are still on my TBR. Like I said, middle grade knows no age. So there are some that I still want to read as an adult. So, and I'll get to them some point. And then this one is Colar, or C-O-L-A-R, and it was probably one of my first space books that I read, which I love science fiction, I love space, I love everything about space, astronomy, you know, the NASA program, looking through my telescope, everything about space, science fiction, you know, aliens, other worlds, you name it, I love it. But this, I think, was my first introduction to that. This was my first book that led me into that world. So this one has a very special place in my heart. I can't really tell you a whole lot about it. I think this family is in their spaceship, and they run out of gas, or the space equivalent, future space equivalent, and they get stranded on this little moon or planet, and they think they're alone, and they're trying to make their repairs to their ship while they're there, and then it seems like maybe they're not alone. And that's what I remember from this book. It's been a couple years since I read it, so I don't remember too much, but I will probably try to read this again, because like I said, this was my foray into science fiction, so I need to revisit it and see what led me down that path. And then I also have, I loved Mary Downing Hahn when I was a kid. I don't know if any of you are familiar with her or read her books, but I loved her. Two of my very favorite books were A Doll in the Garden and Wait Till Helen Comes. Both were ghost stories. I was starting to get into that, you know, wanting to be creeped out at some point, and I really loved ghost stories. And I mean, they scared the heck out of me. I think I even hid from this cover at some point, like I would put it away so it couldn't see me when I was sleeping. but I loved them during the daytime, you know? So, I mean, they were just so good. They were both ghost stories. I think this is about this girl that when she goes into the garden at night, there's a ghost girl waiting and she kind of becomes friends with her. And then she finds this doll and she's got to solve the mystery of this girl and her doll. And then this one is about this family moves to a new property out in the country, and there's a pond and an old abandoned house, and this family starts being haunted by this ghost. Just the kids are being haunted by this ghost, and so they're trying to help her and figure out what it is that she needs so that they can help her move on. So yes, I adored these as a tween. They were so fun. And then along with my ghost theme, The Ghost in the Big Brass Bed. I remember reading this. I probably read this several times, but this one was kind of cool. I don't remember too much about it. I just remember the ending, so I don't know if I want to tell you that because it's kind of a spoiler if you're going to read it, but it was just kind of cool. They solve a mystery, basically. There's this ghost that haunts this bed, and, you know, it's in this old creepy house, and I think there's a fortune hidden in the house somewhere, and they don't know where or what it is. So it's them trying to solve this mystery with the help of a friendly bed ghost. And then this was another favorite. I don't know how many times I read this book. This is Mandy by Julie Edwards. And fun fact, Julie Edwards is Julie Andrews from The Sound of Music. She wrote a children's book, or a middle grade book, and it is fantastic. It's one of my favorite books as a kid. I read this one several times as well. Especially in the summer. I probably read this every summer for like 5 years. And the premises was so up my alley for that age. It's about this little girl named Mandy, and she lives in an orphanage, and the orphanage has a huge stone wall around it. And one day she decides to climb that stone wall and see what's on the other side. Well, the other side is a forest, and so she goes wandering through it, and while she's walking, she stumbles upon a cottage, a stone cottage, and no one lives there. It's all run down and ramshackled. One of the rooms is completely made out of seashells, and she falls in love with this little place and decides to make it her own home. So, you know, throughout the spring and summer, she is, borrowing a spade or a little hand shovel from the gardener at the orphanage, and then sneaking over the wall to visit her little house. And she borrows screwdrivers, to fix the little gate, all these things to make her house a home. And plants flowers and all kinds of things. Well, then all of a sudden she starts noticing some of the bigger projects are being done on the home as well. So there's a secret someone who is helping her fix up this house. I loved this book. I don't know if I mentioned that. I loved it. I'm going to keep this forever. I'll probably read it again several times before I die because it's a gem and it just makes me so happy. It's one of those feel-good books. And I read it as a kid, so it's got that huge nostalgia value for me. So yes, this one is a classic. Okay, we're getting toward the finish line, I promise. All right, so another one that I remember reading as a kid, and I don't remember if we had to read this for school or if I just read it on my own, but it's a heartbreaker, The Bridge to Terabithia. If you're familiar, this is a friendship story with a tragic ending, and it's about these two kids who build this imaginary world called Terabithia. And it's kind of like their special secret fort, and they go and have like great imaginative play there until something tragic happens, and it's about their journey through that. So this is a great one. It'll rip out your heartstrings, and I remember I'm pretty sure it made me cry as a kid. It was very sad, very beautiful friendship story. So if you're not familiar with that, maybe look that one up. And then again, I don't remember if we had to read this for school, if I just picked this up on my own. I know I saw the movie as a kid, so maybe I picked it up on my own to read it, or maybe we did have to read it for school. I think maybe we did. But anyway, Where the Red Fern Grows, if you're not familiar with the story, it's about this boy who saves a couple of coonhounds. Yeah, and it's about his relationship with these two dogs. And I mean, most dog books, dog movies are going to be sad, right? So read it with a box of tissues. Old Yeller, anyone? I mean, you just can't make a dog movie with a happy ending. Come on. Then I also read Island of the Blue Dolphins. So there may be a theme in some of my books you can see at some age, but this one is about this girl who's stranded on an island. I think everyone leaves her, hopefully unintentionally, but she grows up on this island, and it's about how she survives for like 18 years. And then if she decides to stay and continue to make her way on this island alone, or if she's going to try to venture out and take her chances to find her people and home. So this was a good one. I remember reading it as a kid. It's been a long time. I'll probably read it again. I think I'll probably try to read most of these again at some point. You know, they'll be quick reads for me now, and I just think they're fantastic. So if you have any kids in your life, you know, sort through the stories, the synopsis, and see if any of them are kind of up their alley, and recommend them because, you know, they're just so good. All of these, I think. I mean, obviously, I think. But yeah, Island of the Blue Dolphins was a good one. And he also wrote, Scott Odell also wrote one that we had to read for school that was called Sarah Bishop. And I remember enjoying that one as well. And it was about a girl who, I think it was during the Revolutionary War. Her family kind of gets, they might be killed. And she has to go and survive. And she finds a cave and is hiding from, you know, is she hiding from the Patriots, or, you know, I'm not sure which side she was on, but so she's hiding, trying to save her life, living in a cave. So he wrote that one as well. So I think maybe he had a thing with survival stories, but I did too. So I enjoyed reading those. And then along the same theme, another one of my very favorite books, My Side of the Mountain. I absolutely loved this book as a kid. I think I read it several times. This is also a survival story. It's about this boy who decides he wants to go and live in the woods. He's tired of city life and he's going to go make it in the woods. And I think all he takes with him is, you know, a book on how to live in the mountains. But I love this. It's got like a little map. I love that when books have that. It's like got the gorge, the house site, the walnut tree, the cattail supply. I love that. So yeah, this one was a good one. It also shows illustrations of like the traps that he builds. And so I loved that as well. But at some point, how he lives, how he survives, like what he uses as a house was my favorite part. So I was an avid tree climber. I was a tree girl, still love trees. Don't climb them as much as I used to. But this boy hollowed out a tree, or it was already somewhat hollowed. So I think he helped clear out the rest of it. And he made it his home. He built a cot. He, at some point hung an animal skin as a door. He built a chimney to go out. So he lived inside a tree, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. So this was definitely one of my favorite books as a tween. And I had a few that were like survival stories about kids living on their own. Not that I ever wanted to, but apparently I was very fascinated with the idea of survival. And yeah, they're just amazing books. So this is another one that I would recommend if you have someone in your life that would enjoy this. I want to read this one again too. It was one of my favorites. So there you have it. All the books that I read. These aren't all the books that I read as a tween, but these are my favorite ones. The ones that when I think, if someone were to ask me, what were some books that really touched you as a tween and meant a lot to you and that you still remember, these are the ones that just come to mind. I didn't go through and look at, any old lists or anything. I just pulled these from memory. These were on my shelf. So yeah, I pulled them out and wanted to share them with you. So hopefully I will have another video for you for number 3, which would be books that I read as a teenager. So I hope you will come back and join me again. And until then, remember, always be kind to yourself as well as others, and always be kind to cats. Thank you. Bye. Books, the other channel. Cute. December 27th, along with The Old Contemptibles. And that is not my mom's writing or my dad's or mine, so I don't know where I got that. Interesting. Yeah. Anyhow, yes, this one is a classic for me.